Hey guys, welcome back to more Karen stories. In this video, an entitled Karen kicks an army veteran's prosthetic at a beach, claiming he is faking his disability. Let's dive right into today's stories. And the first one is titled, Treat a Vet Like Crap? Enjoy Missing Lunch. This was almost 2 decades ago. I was a young airman and I will try to put this in non-military lingo. I worked next to the office that dealt with ID card issues. When they would get overloaded, I would sometimes slip over to help them. One day I go over to see if I can help and I saw on the sign-in sheet they had been consistently skipping one particular name. There could have been a perfectly good reason why, so I asked, and the general consensus was that they didn't have time to deal with an old drunk. Well, I look over at the guy and now this guy had red eyes, red nose, was shaking like a leaf and was quietly muttering to himself in confusion. He was easily well into his 70s and looked like he had slept in his clothes for days. I approached the man. I noticed straight off he did not smell of alcohol. I took him back to my cubicle because the waiting room was so loud I could not hear him. It turns out his wife had died the previous night. He had spent the last week in a hospital by her side. He knew that he had to turn in her ID card and deal with the military paperwork involved. He was just lost. One of the ID card airmen came in to tell me in front of this veteran that I had to come help them and to stop wasting my time with this guy. The airman's main concern being the line was backing up and it was almost lunchtime. The veteran actually stood up and started apologizing to this POS airman. I sat the veteran back down. I explained thoroughly that he was my top priority. I told the airman that I was already handling one of his customers. I then called the casualty office to let them know to get the paperwork together and told them not to rush. The airman was mad but could do nothing, so went back to his ever-growing line of customers. In the meantime, I let the veteran do what veterans do best, which is tell me old stories. A good hour later, the casualty office came by to assist and to bring him to their office. The veteran hugged me quietly as I got up to go to lunch. It made my day as I sailed through the ID section packed waiting room knowing they would not be getting lunch that day. And yeah guys, as we all know, never mess with a veteran, and this will be even more true for the next story. And by the way, if you enjoy my daily stories, please don't forget to like the video and leave a comment because that helps me tremendously. At the moment, YouTube is giving a lot of Reddit readers a really hard time, so your support is very much appreciated. The next one is titled, Karen kicks army vet's prosthetic at beach to check if his disability is fake. Like many before me and probably many after that served in the army know firsthand, you might make it back, just not all in one piece. For me, that piece was my left leg. I don't like talking about the details of what happened, but it ended up with me getting amputated from my knee down and sent home with an honorable discharge. My prosthetic is actually really good, and after getting used to it for years, you wouldn't be able to tell if I was wearing long pants I even had it. I was going to the beach one day with friends, and I would say right now that it is still the one place that I have some issues walking. It's hard to explain unless you know, but my balance on the sand with that leg is nearly impossible. The good news is I have a walking stick that can help with the balance and keep me upright. That plus the fact that my leg is exposed means I get a lot of looks. At first it really bothered me, but now I can mostly ignore when people seem to make eye contact a little too long. And some think that my eyes are down by my shins. We set up our stuff in a fairly empty spot and we are just relaxing. I hadn't gone in the water yet since that required me to take off my leg and get help down to the water. I know some models can handle getting wet, but I've read too much about salt water damaging them that I err on the side of caution. I was just hanging on a towel getting a tan and messing around with my bros. It was great until trouble showed up. That trouble was a woman with far too much makeup for the beach, a giant umbrella, a basket and the biggest sun hat I've ever seen in my life. And God knows what else. Back when I was a kid and lived near the beach, we saw people that looked like this around the summer holiday. My dad called them shoobies, whatever that means, don't know why, but maybe it'll give a few of you a better picture of this woman who I will name Karen. She was with a group of people, but some, the kids especially, ran off right into the water. She started talking, not to me, not to anybody in her group, and not to anybody else near us. In fact, there was a ton of room, but she felt the need to plop down within 5 feet of us. For what she was actually saying to, well, I still don't know, maybe Mufasa up in the sky. Karen, some people will do anything for sympathy points. I mean, really, people these days. I guess it got her friend's attention. I don't know what she said exactly, since she was speaking in a hushed tone. Karen, though, was staying loud. Karen, I bet that leg is fake. I've seen people do it for attention and to get free things. I'm sorry, but what free things? It's a public beach. It's already free, like for everybody. I was trying to ignore her, but it's hard when I can hear every word she was saying. I was just thinking about asking my friend to help me into the water and take the leg off just to make her shut up, but she started to like circle around me. She came and looked and walked away and then back. Finally, she came up to speak to me directly. Bad move, lady. Karen, so is that thing even real, or do you just want to take my hard-earned tax dollars for fake disability? Me, ma'am, I'm just trying to enjoy the beach. Yes, it is real. Karen, I bet if I tugged on it, then it would come off and we could see your real leg under it. Why don't you take it off, huh? If it's real, then you shouldn't have a problem doing that. Me, actually I do have a problem. You think you can get in my face and start demanding things and I will just sit down and take it, huh? Well, let me tell you that I've seen a lot worse than your face, but not by much. By the way, guys, I already love that veteran guy. I got my stick and very unsteadily got on my feet. I was kind of hoping that my 6'1" height would maybe make her back off a little. I know I was rude, but I have zero patience or manners for people that come after me like this. Talking about her tax dollars when I lost my leg for the country, I had planned to give her a verbal beatdown, telling her that I was a vet and if she thought she could intimidate me, she was mistaken. I was ready to give her the gory details too, but sadly none of that was able to come to fruition. I was standing up for maybe 10 seconds before Karen kicked me right in the joint of the prosthetic. I could not keep my balance and fell down hard. Yeah, it was sand and not concrete, but it still hurt, especially at the angle I fell. She assumed since I was in pain from falling, it meant that my leg hurt. Karen, see, he's faking the leg. If it was fake, it wouldn't hurt. When I went down, I could hear my friends just gasp, and I think her friend might have too. One of them wanted to flat out attack Karen, but was held back by another person. My friends can be protective, but also know that I'm capable of handling my own. I never wanted to be treated like I was broken or something just because I lost my leg. She was smiling down at me, and it had only been about 15 seconds since she kicked me. I grabbed my stick to get up, however, I lost my balance again for a second, and the stick must have slipped out of my grip or something. Totally innocent, I swear, and Karen got hit by the stick. I was still half on the ground, so it didn't hit her high, but ironically enough, she then fell down too. She went down on her hip and then her head. She was knocked out for a few moments before coming back too. I guess she learned how hard sand was now. I got up and was a little dazed, but still furious. I wanted to get back on my feet before Karen could even think about getting up and doing something else. Now people had seen what happened from the first strike Karen took at me and pulled out phones and were recorded. I hated attention, I was angry in some pain and just wanted things to be done with. Stories sadly just don't end like that though. A lifeguard came over wanting to know what happened, and Karen was trying to say that I used my stick as a weapon and attacked her. Bystanders with videos who had seen the whole thing started telling him that she kicked me first and I was just defending myself. Karen was not stopping and still claiming that my leg was fake and I was the one that attacked her. The lifeguards called the police, which I guess is their policy when a fight happens. At first it seemed like the police were gonna arrest both of us since I was being detained along with Karen. After hearing what happened though, they agreed that I was just defending myself, so beyond questioning, I was free to go. Karen though was arrested for assault. She was being dramatic. Karen, but look where he hit me with the stick. I bet this is gonna bruise so that my hip is broken. He's a monster. I was just minding my own business. The officer told her that he saw the video and that she had kicked me right into my leg, telling her that interference with a medical device is serious. She finally seemed to grasp that she was the one in trouble here. Assault and battery charges were placed against Karen and I was free to go. It took some time to calm down, but before long I was back to relaxing and enjoying the sun and the sounds of the ocean. I know that I will eventually be contacted again about the case, but I don't really care about all of that. I was just glad that she got what she deserved and that nothing was broken from her being an idiot. Hell, if she just sat and watched, she would have eventually seen the leg come off and shown that I didn't have any hidden leg. I don't know what she even thought I was trying to gain by it, but oh well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And the next one is titled, You, a senior citizen military veteran, can handle my hyperactive 7-year-old? Be my guest. So this happened years ago with myself, a friend, and my then boyfriend and his daughter. We couldn't do much for toys for this particular Christmas, but our family was nominated for an event called Shop with a Veteran. It is where kids get to go in a Walmart with a veteran and can pick out their own Christmas gifts with a set amount of money donated by civilians and other veterans. The thing is, only the veteran can go in with them. I had later found out it was because some parents had earlier tried to persuade their kids to get things that were more catered to the parents or another child instead of the child who was nominated. I can definitely understand the rule being enforced for this, but some children should have their parents with them. So my boyfriend's daughter was diagnosed with severe ADHD and had taken her medication, but she had gotten very excited when she found out about going to get Christmas gifts of her choosing. We found the lady hosting and explained to her about the daughter's ADHD and how she can be a whirlwind when she gets excited and how she doesn't like to listen to people who she doesn't know. When we explained to the lady hosting the event that one of us should go in with his daughter just to make sure she behaved, she understood and talked to the veteran who was going to the shop with the daughter. He immediately argued, claiming he was tired of parents wanting to pressure their kids to getting things they didn't want, and he wanted the daughter to have a good time picking out her gift. The lady tried to explain the situation, but the veteran wouldn't hear any of it. I clearly remember him grumbling at us, "I've been to war, I can handle a kid." Well, in that case, after the veteran took the daughter into the store, we saw two friends going in. We didn't know they'd be there, but we were happy to see them. My boyfriend caught up with them and asked one of them if they could keep an eye on the daughter and the veteran. My boyfriend then emphasized that the veteran clearly thought he could handle the daughter, so let him handle her. We waited for about an hour when the veteran returned with the daughter. She was grinning ear to ear at all the presents she was able to get. The veteran looked exhausted, like he had been through hell. He then yelled at us that the daughter was the most disrespectful brat he had ever met. How she had to touch all the toys and threw everything she wanted into the shopping cart, and she was a nightmare when he told her she couldn't have everything she picked out. My boyfriend packed his daughter's gifts in the car and then took her back inside to start our grocery shopping. We couldn't do it while she was in there with the veteran because we had to wait outside for when they were done, so we could immediately take her and her gifts. Understandable, they weren't babysitters. I decided to talk to the veteran and told my boyfriend that I would meet him inside. I asked him if he was okay. He said he was fine, but why didn't we tell him that our daughter was crazy? I promptly corrected him by saying that she was not crazy. I explained her ADHD to him and how we only wanted to go in with them so she would behave. We know that she knows how to behave around us, school and grandma's house, how she doesn't like to listen to strangers even if we know them, and she doesn't. I apologized and told him that not all parents want to go in to use this as an excuse to get their own gifts. Some genuinely just want to make sure their kids behave. Later in the store, our friend caught up with us and told us everything that happened. The daughter had run up and down the toy aisles. She kept going back and forth from the toys to the cart, throwing in anything she could get her hands on. She even screamed at the veteran when he put some of the toys back. Typical behavior when her normal authority figures are not watching. When she was satisfied with toys she did get, she kept asking for candy at the checkout, which she asks anyone for when we go to the store. It was amusing to us that a grizzled military veteran was outmatched by a hyperactive 7-year-old. We have since then been better off and we donate money to this event every year and even toys for any toy drive they have. The veteran still does the event, but he's more understanding when certain children need their parents to go with them. He does get the odd pushy parent now and then, but he handles them rather than flat out denies all parents going in. And yeah guys, I guess parenting can be harder or almost as hard as going to a war zone. Depends on your kid, I guess. And the next one is a malicious compliance story. For context, the software development company I used to intern at uses a sheet to estimate the cost of building a certain software or updates for a client. This sheet includes employees working on the project, how long they estimate it will take, yada yada yada. After an intern goes around the departments collecting this info from the various employees, we then calculate the cost and send it to the client to accept or reject. Note, since our company is so popular in the area, we have a pretty long query sometimes. So if you reject the estimate, chances are you might have to wait in the queue all over again to request a new one. So the day was slow and they mostly had me man the phones and go on coffee runs, typical intern stuff. Then a client calls in saying she wants a piece of clock login software for her employees so she can more accurately track their work hours. By this point into my internship, I had done at least 4 to 5 of these sheets at least, and I was taught by my supervisor how to identify which departments would be needed for which project, so after gathering the details from the client, I hang up and translated the needs for the employees, essentially explain it in programmer jargon. Half an hour later I'm done with the sheet and I've checked the calculations 3 times, so I email it to the client, and I swear, not even 2 minutes later I get an "estimate rejected" message on the company smartphone I was given. She added a reply stating, "This estimate is non-compliable with me," so I respond to it with, "We are sorry to hear that, ma'am. Please enjoy the rest of your day," and then I go about my business. Roughly an hour later she emails the phone again asking, "Is that all you have to say?" By this point I realized what she was trying to do and report to my supervisor that Miss Karen was trying to haggle the price. My supervisor calls Karen's phone and asks if she would like to have the estimate resent to her so she can accept, and Karen outright tells her that she wants a cheaper price. To which my supervisor tells her the price is non-negotiable and to take it as is, so Karen uses her signature move of, "Let me speak with your manager," but my supervisor simply informed her that she would get the same response and then just hung up on her. Karen eventually did call back and even showed up to the building to renegotiate the price, but was shot down, and she was able to get a meeting with the manager to file a complaint for poor customer service and unprofessional behavior. My supervisor and I were called in and asked for our side of the exchange. We just gave them the chat log and proved that she rejected the estimate initially sent to her. She had no color in her face after those came out and could not even look at him. She was given a blacklist for us and recommended other companies. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. So this took place when I, 29 male, was 19 years old. I had just left Navy boot camp and entered a school. For some background on the story, and for those of you who are not aware, boot camp teaches you to be a good sailor, while A school teaches you to do the specific job you'll be doing while in the Navy. I had been there for some time when I decided to go to a little movie theater on base and meet a girl who I will call Cheetah. Cheetah and I hit it off pretty well, and we started going out. Over a month into the relationship, we make plans to meet up the next day for lunch after morning classes at one of the on-base restaurants. I make it into the eatery and find Cheetah already there eating with another man. To paint a picture, they were not just eating but leaning very close to one another, holding hands. It turns out that not only did she forget our plans, but she also made the same plans with an entirely different guy. Seeing this, I decided to get my food, walk up all sweetly to them and join them for lunch. The look on Cheetah's face when she saw me was one of mortification. I introduced myself as a good friend of Cheetah and made small talk, asked questions about the two of them and anything else that made Cheetah as uncomfortable as possible before politely excusing myself so I could head for my afternoon classes. Although I did not outright rat her out, I made sure to lay it on thick and watched her squirm as her other boyfriend began to piece it all together over the course of our meal. It's sufficient to say things didn't last between me and Cheetah. And the next one is another petty revenge story. Uncle back in the 90s had 2 restored cars, a 1969 Firebird, his first and most cherished car, and a 1969 Chevelle Blue with white racing stripes. Both cars show ready. His wife was caught cheating, so a divorce happened. When he got his agreement to sign, she demanded that she wanted the Camaro. Well, they did not own a Camaro yet. He drove that hot rod Chevelle to a local grocery store, parking lot, and waited. Finally, some young high school kid pulled up and my uncle made his year. Traded that kid even for his beat-up Camaro, went home and signed the divorce papers. After the judge signed off and the divorce was finalized, they met in the parking lot and she was given her Camaro. She was trying to F him out of his prized and cherished car, but thankfully, due to her thinking it was a Camaro, he easily kept it. He still has the Firebird, and I would say this qualifies as petty revenge because he just threw away a crap ton of cash he invested in that Chevelle, especially in today's market, just to match her pettiness. He expected her to want the Chevelle. And now let's move on to the title story, which is titled HOA Karen sues me for my newly built pool. I am no HOA member, so she has no jurisdiction over me. And by the way, if you enjoy the petty revenge and HOA stories, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance. So after too many years and negative experiences with community pools, I decided to save up and get one for my own backyard. backyard. A decent sized one that my entire family can enjoy, and my friends can even have their friends over to swim in it. I was just tired of all the issues that tend to surround the community pools no matter how well they are staffed. Bigger kids pushing the little ones around and sometimes even getting aggressive, people who don't shower going in the pool, and other gross things that nobody wants to hear about. It took a while to get it, but once we did and got used to it, my entire family was loving the life of having a pool in our backyard for the summer. It also meant that the struggle of getting 3 kids already and in the car was no longer going to be a hassle for me. We went over rules, of course, that they couldn't swim unless I was outside to watch them, and I knew that some neighbors were gonna end up jealous of it due to the fact that the HOA did not allow pools, even above ground ones, in the neighborhood. I was one of the lucky ones to not have to be part of this HOA. With mine, there was technically a way to not have to join when buying a home that involved a lot of legal crap that most people would just rather avoid and just join. That was even if they knew how to look for that kind of thing at all. So due to that, the HOA has hated me since I moved in, but I just did not have the energy to care about what those people thought of me, the HOA or the nosy jealous neighbors. The kids zapped all my attention and energy to the point that my neighbor could be walking around outside in a dinosaur suit and I probably would not bat an eye or notice it. Well, these neighbors clearly got upset that I was allowed a pool and decided to go and complain to the HOA about it. Not about the rules being changed to just allow pools, no, that would make too much sense. Instead, they wanted the HOA to force me to get rid of my pool. And instead of explaining to them that I was out of their jurisdiction, they decided to actually take the complaints up the ladder, and I got a visit from the big shot herself. The head of the HOA, the only word I have to describe would be Karen. Now, Karen was no stranger to me, as she has tried to suck me in with lies in the past. When she learned I found a way to not be in the HOA, she started trying to tell me that was a mistake and I had to be a member if I wanted to live in this neighborhood. Telling me just to give her that month's due, and if I didn't like the HOA, I could just leave it, which I knew was a lie, and the minute I bought into it, I was not going to be able to leave. She also came by every single time the HOA was hosting some kind of event, making a point to let me know that since I was not a member, I could not come. She did this even with events that were not run by the HOA and instead by the local school or some other group. She wanted me to feel isolated and my kids to be left out to try and guilt me into still joining the HOA. I also knew her casually as the person that yelled at the grocery store checkout. I mean, why wouldn't I want this woman to be coming to my door and speaking to me, right? Karen, I heard that you have a pool back there. Me, who told you that? Karen, I cannot tell you that, I just want to go back and see for myself if it's true. Me, well, first of all, you're not going into my backyard. Second, I will save you the trouble of probably spying on me in order to find out the answer and end up back at my door tomorrow. So yes, there's a pool back there, and I know that I'm 100% allowed by county laws to have it. Karen, the members of the HOA are angry. You cannot build a pool in a no-pool neighborhood. Me, I'm not part of the HOA, I don't need to follow your no-pool rule. Karen, but other people can see it. It's in the view of members of the HOA. That means it's not allowed. Me, I'm pretty sure you're just pulling that out of your ass. I'm gonna close my door now and you're gonna leave. Goodbye. I know I came off rude, but I had enough weird interactions with Karen in the past that I was beyond being nice to her. You can imagine her wanting me in the HOA and trying to manipulate or lie her way into getting it to happen. Karen, you may have a degree in the art of BS, but I have one in law, so I know a thing or two more than you do. I figured that people would calm down or the HOA would have their own internal panic, but no, Karen once again chose the dumb move. She decided to sue me over the pool, claiming it's not allowed in the neighborhood, and me being a member of the HOA or not did not mean that I could build one. I had to still follow overall HOA regulations. Like, no Karen, I just need to follow the law, and despite your huge ego, that is not you, honey. That lawsuit did not go anywhere, as her lawyer probably told her that suing me over this was stupid and was not gonna result in her winning anything. Only solidifying further that I did not need to follow her rules. I kept my lawn clean and all the normal stuff out of just general wanting for my house to look nice. She could not get me on breaking any county laws or state or even federal ones with what I was doing, so the next thing that must have popped into her pea-sized head was the idea of revenge. I feel like it was the same logic people have of, if I cannot have it, nobody can. Except hers was, if the pool is destroyed, they cannot use it. So she, without any attention to the fact that we own cameras, decided to go into our backyard with her husband and destroy the pool. They brought like a mini axe with them and created huge gashes in the pool so it could not hold any water anymore. Then, because they figured it was not enough, went inside with a knife to tear up the pool liner. Looking at the footage, you would swear like a pool had personally ruined her life or something. I don't have the video anymore, which I know many people would probably want to see, but there's some like magic duct tape infomercial with the guy destroying a bucket. It was basically that, just on a much larger scale. My two older kids were ready to go swimming the next day and very confused and upset when the pool was not working, which is how my 6-year-old described it being destroyed, and probably my favorite way to describe it. So basically my husband and I looked over the footage and saw Karen and her husband clear as day destroying it. I gave the tape to the police and filed a report for trespassing and destruction of property. I was also getting a lawyer to sue them, because you can be sure as anything that they were gonna end up paying me back for that pool. So in the lawsuit, which was against Karen and her husband to begin with, they claimed that they are doing it for the HOA, and they basically wanted to change things because they knew they would lose and want the HOA to have to pay the money instead. I didn't care as long as I got my money, and I heard her sad excuse of a story of what happened. She claimed that the two of them had come over because we asked them to help fix something, but it was so dark that they tripped. Yes, they were claiming that all of the damage they did in the video was not intentional. They had gone back for something else and just spent 10 minutes tripping over things. The judge did not think it was even funny, but I kind of did. They were forced to pay for the new pool, and I got a check from the HOA a few weeks later. Now, when Karen and her husband got arrested for the actual criminal act of what they did, the police found a lot more than they were anticipating. I don't know the details of what happens when somebody gets arrested, but all I know is they started looking into both Karen and the HOA since she was the president. It turned out that she had been lying on her taxes about income and owed the IRS tens of thousands of dollars. On top of that, she was using the HOA members' money to invest in these crappy scam businesses, and basically an HOA cannot just use money for whatever it wants, so they were in some serious trouble once they got arrested. With other HOA members getting arrested too, all because Karen decided to destroy my pool due to not liking it. So with all the criminal charges against her, the DA did not even want to make a plea deal with her. They knew that she was getting screwed and they could get a jury to find her guilty easily. Karen and her husband were both given pretty decent prison sentences for what they had done. The HOA was not doing well because of Karen's management of the money and actions. My check from them was the last thing they basically did before they were forced to go bankrupt and stop running. Now, with no HOA, the nosy neighbors had no reason that they couldn't get pools of their own if they wanted as well. A lot of them were still snooty jerks though, so I did not really make any new friends during the whole process. But at least Karen was gone and not going to be knocking on my door again about joining up with anything. Despite what some people thought, no HOA did not mean the entire place went to poop and it was chaos and anarchy. Basically nothing changed aside from one major difference: people now had more money from not needing to give it to the HOA every single month. And before we end the video, let's read one last funny malicious compliance story. This one is titled, "Want pictures of all the transactions and deposits? You got it." So once upon a time, I worked for a boss who would try to passively micromanage my work. For context, I was the manager of multiple locations and I would handle everything that is related to the store. In other words, the cash, vendor invoices, profits, and everything in between. When I first took up this position, they expected me to learn everything on my own, no proper training, no one to reach out to if I was stuck at something. However, gradually, I picked it all up and mastered every single entry and transaction. When this manager started seeing my progress, he started asking me all the unnecessary whys and how come this, how come that. Then he started questioning my accounting and said, "From this point on, I want pictures of all the transactions you handle. Say no more." For the next few months, I would bombard his phone with every little transaction detail and tag him in everything that I was doing. If something is not taken care of and the upper management questions me, I would simply say, "I asked my boss, but he never responded." Well, eventually, this boss called me one day and asked me to stop sending him pictures because his phone is now lagging due to low storage and that he has to spend a lot of time deleting those thousands of pictures. I know this is not even close to some of the posts here, but malicious is malicious, I guess. And yeah guys, thank you for watching the video. I will see you again tomorrow.